All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mercer FCA podcast, episode number 15 with Mikeal Sullivan, representing the football team on the campus of the university. So, what's going on, Kale? How are you this morning, man?
Yes, sir. I'm good. How are you?
Man, I am doing great, man. Very excited to be able to have you on this morning. We've talked, like a lot so far this semester, and I'm very excited to kind of hear your story and from your home life to growing up in the church and like connecting with Christ and just kind of all that kind of stuff with it. Obviously very like excited for you to be able to take the time out. We're right in the middle of the last week of the semester. So I get it. Like I know how hectic and stressful it can be. So thank you so much for joining the show this morning.
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right. Hey, guys. Well, first, real quick, before we get going, don't forget we are in need of people to be able to give to this to the ministry and everything that we are trying to do on the campus. FCA is fully faith funded, meaning we completely rely on 100% people giving to this cause and trying to give to what we are doing. So please be thinking about that. Please be praying about that. All of the links will be in the info, all the QR codes and everything that you need to give is already set up. If you just click those links, you can definitely find it. Everything that you give goes 100% to what we are doing here on the campus. It doesn't go to any other FCA. It 100% goes to everything that we are doing here. So we're still in need. We started this year with trying to find 12 families to be able to give, and now we are down to 9. So we've already had 3 families sign up, giving at least $40 a month. So please be thinking about that and pray about it, man, and just obey what God is telling you to do. And knowing that you are joining this fight in with us and everything that we are doing here on the campus, you are just as much a part of it as coming up to the meetings every week. So please be thinking about that. So Kale, all right, man, let's go ahead and get going with this, man. Tell us a little bit about, where you're from and just, kind of the home life, family dynamic and everything like that.
Yeah, so I grew up in Augusta, Georgia. Single parent home. My dad actually ended up getting locked up when I was 3 years old. So it was just me, my 2 older brothers, and then my mom. And I went to a Christian private school my entire life. My mom worked 2 jobs. She was a computer teacher at the school for me growing up. And then she was also a college professor in psychology during the nighttime. And one thing immediately I noticed, just reflecting on my childhood, was like, I was a very isolated kid. Like I didn't have my mom a lot around, and I also didn't have, I guess, having like 3 brothers, 3 of us in total. Like I guess my older 2 brothers were kind of closer, and I was more, and I always had different interests from them. Like they were wrestlers, I was a basketball player, just all types of stuff. And so I kind of just had my own little lane I was in, just forever growing up. And so I noticed I was very isolated. But to parallel with me growing up in a Christian school, I kind of had this just always interest for God because it was in front of me at just such a young age. But I wish I would have had like, I guess, some older, or especially like a father figure, especially growing up, to kind of like narrow me, like get me down the right path. But yeah, I mean, growing up, that's really it. My main things were basketball. Really, it was just basketball. I loved playing basketball when I was a kid. And yeah, like that's really it growing up in terms of elementary.
So all right, so now obviously, man, so much there we can be talking about. So how much older are the 2 siblings of yours? Like, is it like how close are y'all?
So one brother is 10 years older and the other is 3 years older.
Oh, okay. So right. So you have one really big gap and then one decently close enough for you. Yeah. So I can
to give more context, my oldest brother, who's 10 years older than me, he was kind of my father figure growing up. Like he was the one. Yeah. So even to this day, like I feel like we have more of like a father son. Like him just looking over me instead of like a brother, which I love it though. It's fine. Yeah, it's my brother. But yeah.
Man. Wow, man. So all right. So So was it always growing up in that same Christian school? Like, was that a like elementary through high school, or did you change
Yeah.
schools, any of that, or so what?
It was kindergarten to my senior year, all
Okay.
12, I guess 13 years, kind of kindergarten, but yeah.
Yeah. And so with that, I mean, is that where you really started, finding a connection to church or Christ or any of that? Like, was it coming from your mom, or like,
Yeah.
like, what was your first, like, you know, memory of, man, I need to be at church, or I need to be reading my Bible? Like, when did that kind of start for you?
Honestly, seeing my mom would wake up like so early every single morning. And every time I go in her room, she would just be reading the Bible. And so I
Mm,
always just, I guess I was just very influenced by like her life because she has a stronger work ethic than anyone I've ever seen. And I guess I always just attributed it to that. And then I think like in kindergarten, we're learning about Adam and Eve and just all these like stories. So like it kind of got to a point where that was like the only thing I knew.
yeah.
But I think the bittersweet thing about like growing up in a Christian school is kind of, um, I think it opened the door for lukewarmness in my faith.
Mm,
And like I saw teachers or like, you know what I'm saying, we're all being taught to live this certain way. But then I guess when that standard is not kept, because none of us are perfect, you know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
And then it kind of opened the door for like, well, if we can do this, but then we can do things like gossip and things like this.
Right.
And it kind of bridged a big lukewarmness gap for me where it was just like, I was using God conveniently. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
if I needed something, kind of like a genie, you know what I'm
Sure.
saying? Or
Yeah.
just when it was convenient for me, like it became a thing where it was on my own time, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty the dynamic growing up in it, I'd say.
It brings up a great thought that me and some of my guys that I'm close to, like, we talk about it a lot, because I grew up in, like, going to like the public school, and so kind of having that, very all kind of different cultures and everything like that. Being born from South Georgia, so a completely new world down there, and then, but a really close friend of mine grew up with, like, went to like a private school and then started being homeschooled. And so we talk all the time because we didn't know each other as kids, but like we talk, now as men and dads and husbands, of like, trying to reflect on that and wondering, man, if we would have switched roles and I would have grew up in that kind of,
Mhm.
circumstance, he would have, grew up going to, like, to like the public school, how much different would our life have been? Or, what I mean? Like you always kind of wonder, what kind of, if you're in that kind of a circumstance as a child, but like that's all that
Mhm.
like it's just kind of makes it very interesting. Like, to your point, where every day at school for you was learning the Bible, so there wasn't like a need for you to go home and want to read the Bible more, because, man, that's just schoolwork. Like that's
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
how it's just kind of how you viewed it. So, what do you think that have you ever really thought about that, and like maybe how that may have, like you said, influenced you some in terms of, it was just something else to do. Like, there wasn't really a calling to God. And with that, like, when did you feel like, okay, like this is more than schoolwork. Like, this is literally like
Mhm.
eternal life on the line here. Like, I need to be in the Word. Like, when did that kind of happen?
Yeah, I think that moment for me was probably going into my junior year. And I think, yeah, going into my junior year of high school, um, it was this moment. And this is kind of the moment where I rededicated my life to the Lord. Because
Yeah.
from that point, I mean, I was falling into just all types of sin. And I'm a very vulnerable person. So like I'm not gonna shy away from my struggle,
Yeah.
but like sexual
Yeah.
morality was a big thing for me early in
Yeah.
high school. And that was really my only vice. And there's so many layers to that, talking about even from like when I was a child and also isolated, it was the way that I had validation. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So all types of things. But I say that moment of rededication, I really knowing it was more than
Hmm.
just schoolwork, was going into my junior year. I went to this church camp with one of my best friends. And I'll never forget, I was just sitting in the back of the room, like nobody, it was so many people covering me. So I don't know how the guy, I don't even
Hmm.
know, I don't even remember the guy who was speaking at the front,
Yeah.
honestly. But I just remember he like pointed through the back of the room and just called me to come up to the stage and did like a whole thing of just basically saying like I was forgiven and that I have the power to forgive, because I was holding on to a lot of unforgiveness from my father and just all those type of things.
Yeah.
And that was like a freeing moment for me. And I think, especially with just my upbringing, to that moment where I felt seen by God, but I never felt seen by like other people growing up, which is the big reason I played sports, was the validation. I think that moment really, really like, I do have a father, like a heavenly father. And so like now that was kind of the shift of like, instead of just saving it for Bible class and then living how I want to live every other moment of the day, it's like, let me actually start, exploring.
Man, that's so good. That's so good. And I can only imagine what that was like for you, at that church camp and being called out like that. But man, 100% the Holy Spirit there had his hand on it. So, man, all right. So before we get into the high school, let's kind of go back and like talk a little bit about athletics. And like, you already talked about trying to play basketball and everything like that growing up. Was there always a love for sport, and like, with like, having the two older brothers as well, like did it kind of influence you in one way, like in what were, how often were you out playing, any kind of game?
Yeah, for me, sports was everything growing up. I don't really know, like looking back on it, I wish I would have did more. Like it was really that and playing the game, like just playing video games. Those are only two things, but yeah, it was always basketball. Like I said, or I don't know if I said, but my brothers were wrestlers. So like both of them wrestling full time. Me, I couldn't find joy in that. So from like a young age, my mom put me in a basketball little league, and then I just always wanted to play basketball. And then growing up, it got to a point where track came in the picture, and I thought track was going to be my thing because I fell in love with track. And then I guess transitioning, this is kind of getting to the high school point, but my junior year, a week after I had that rededication moment with the Lord, the same best friend who took me to that church camp, he played football, actually ended up committing to Mercer, playing football at Mercer. But he ended up just convincing me, like, bro, you got to play football with me, because he was a year older than me. So you got to play football with me. It's my senior year, whatever. And then I end up playing, and then it's like it just comes so easily, and like I still had no clue. And so in my junior year, that's when I started playing football. And then, I was pretty bad. My junior year, I was pretty bad. And then my senior year, everything kind of like just worked together, which I really feel like God really had his hand on it to really get me into Mercer. Because before my senior year season, I tore my hamstring. I thought I was going to be out for the whole year. Right before the first game, it was healed, and I had a full healthy season. And I was out for the whole summer. Like some moments, like stuff like that kept happening, and I was just like, man, God, like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
but things are working together, and I don't want to say though, like I was living holy ever since my rededication moment, because if anything, the fight only got harder. Like temptation with sexual morality and all these things, impurity, all these things only got harder, and I still was falling. So I really look like it's just God's grace that like he was writing the story and not me. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have self-condemned myself out of every position. But definitely around junior year, that's when football came into the picture, and it really changed my life. I only played football for 4 years, but it's done so much more for me.
Man, all right, dude. So I had no idea about that. So, all right. So with were you always growing up thinking, man, I'm going to play sports in college? Like, was that always kind of the ultimate goal for you?
Yeah, it was the dream. I wanted to be like point guard. And then I realized like 8th grade, I was still short. I was like 5'10". So I wasn't really short, but I was just like, basketball. I started like, I really wasn't like that great as I thought I was. Like I could just shoot and that was it.
Yeah, right.
So like, I'm definitely not going to make it here. So I got to switch it up. So then it turned to track, and I was a long distance guy at first. I was like, I don't know if I like long distance that much to do it for college. So I switched to spring, and I was like, okay, well, you got to be really fast to be a sprinter. And I kind of like, I guess for me, and this is a big part of my story, like mental health was always a big thing. I would like, have you heard of imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that was a big struggle for me. I'd really like, man, do I deserve this? Can I really do this? I doubted myself so much. So I think that really limited me for a long time. So then once I realized track, well, I don't know. I still love track. But once football came into the picture, and then I noticed like I started getting calls from like small coaches that I never got in basketball or track, I was like, okay, like maybe there's a thing here. So that's kind of how it worked out.
So running track, did you was playing football ever in your, like, did you even like try to consider it like at all?
Never until the day like one of my best friends told me like you need to play. Like before that I was like, I don't know how, but I really do think, and well, I'll wait until we get to really talking about my football journey. But I just think the Lord really had to use football to like sharpen me and prune me as a man, as a young man, at least. Yeah.
Man, absolutely. Okay. So all right. Private school from like Augusta. And so what was like your school dynamic like? Like, was there, how many people in your class? Like, what was that like? And I'm assuming it was pretty much, your same classmates from elementary all the way up through high school. So always super close to, everybody in your school. So, talk a little bit about that and like what, daily life was like for you at your school.
Yeah. So for me, it was a predominantly white school. It was maybe me and like growing up till I got to high school, it was about 3 like people who looked like me in my class. So growing up, I kind of felt like a little excluded at times. And it's nothing like against them. It's just like, that's just the way it was growing up.
Yeah, sure.
Daily life though, I mean, I enjoyed it. Like I honestly had a great time. I think it was a lot of, and I mean, just like public school, like I think it's all types of crowds, even at a private school. Like there's still going to be, what I'm saying, all types of crowds. And I'm big, like I'm not going to say anything. I'm trying not to say anything like bad about the experience, but that's just like who I've became. But I enjoyed it. And I think I had my close group of friends that I really started building my sophomore year of high school. Like I still talk to those guys today, and it's probably like 6 of us, and they all went on to play college sports as well. Like I kind of had like just a tight knit group, and I mean my mom ended up, so she went from the computer teacher at that school to the guidance counselor over the whole school to where she was the principal for a short stint. So like, being in a position where like your mom's
the principal. Oh wow. Yeah, man.
Yeah, like it's that was kind of an interesting thing because like I wasn't like the best kid. Like I'd get in trouble and stuff, but like I'd always get out of it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? Stuff like that. So I don't know, like I had a good time and I had a great group of friends. Yeah. And I think I did have friends who like were also chasing the Lord too. I think that was or that at least the hunger was there. So like having accountability, and even if it was rare accountability, still like knowing like, okay, I have to, like we all gotta abide by the standard. If we're all chasing the same common goals, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that was impactful for me too.
Man, so did y'all have like FCA or any kind of outreach ministry for y'all or anything else?
Nah, not that I knew of. My senior year, we had a teacher come and he like pretty much just solo, like kind of got a group of us together and like we did studies that way. But like beyond that, and maybe they did, I just wasn't part of them. Like I wasn't like, cause I wasn't really too involved, I'd say. So, yeah, not really.
Man. Okay. So here we are around your junior year, like that's where you rededicate like your life to Christ. And so what was, if you could, like, what was your life like those first 3 years or 2.5 years of high school versus what it was like going into that senior year of high school? Like what changed for you, just in terms of what you were doing every day, and like in terms of how you viewed sports, in terms of how you view girls, like you know, what all changed for you just in terms of that?
I think like before rededicating and after, I think the biggest thing was just like there was purpose. Like I wasn't living for just immediate pleasure anymore all the time, like instant gratification. Like I was really learning, like, man, if I say no now, 2 years from now, I may be blessed. You know what I'm saying? Or there will be something to reap from that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think early growing up, 9th and 10th grade, it was so much just, I mean, it was just so much right now, like instant gratification. That's all I could really, that's all I could see. And I think that's another word is vision too. I think like after that moment, like the shift came from like, man, God, what can you do for me, to like, what could I really do for others? In the sense of like, man, what type of father do I want to be? You know, what type of husband do I want to be? Like, I never really had those desires one day. And I mean, those are my two biggest goals in my life, honestly, is to be, I say this all the time, but to be the husband my mom never had and to be the dad I never had growing up. Those are my two biggest goals. And I think that vision and just the belief that it was possible came like in those first moments.
Wow.
And then looking back, especially, I think I started taking advantage of the people God put in my life. Like for me, I never really I didn't have my dad growing up, but I had so many coaches and like good men, like my friends' parents, whatever, who were willing to be my mentors. So even to this day, it's like I have like 15 father figures so I can just call, you know what I'm saying? And like, I would have never been able to really see them for all they could be if like I never really had that moment with the Lord, you know? So those are definitely the biggest things like coming to mind.
Man, so gosh, so it's like, it's almost like, like we hear this all the time, like this term or this phrase that, your eyes were able to see now. I mean, you were blind, but now you're able to see, and not only see like right in front of you, because that's pretty much where you were already looking, but now it's, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. Let's start thinking about further into the life, which is, man, what a powerful testimony in terms of that. And just in terms of, this was my life before Christ. I was more focused on the now. Like I'm more focused on what's right in my face and instant gratification, just like you said, versus now with Christ. Now I'm thinking about the future, man. I'm thinking about career and a future family. And, man, just to be able to have that kind of, we always talk about this a lot, just in terms of hindsight, and to be able to see that now, and to be able to see, man, like, just like you said, now it's, man, let me take advantage of the people God has put in my life. Like, like I may have been born in with a single mom and, without a dad around or anything like that. But man, God's blessed me in other areas, and let me start taking advantage of those and start really trying to, see what they have to offer me. And just like you said, now it's like you got, double digit dads out there trying to kind of look out for you and take care of you, man. And so, it's always awesome to hear that whenever somebody is able to kind of see, man, this is how God has been constantly at work in my life. Like this whole time I've been thinking, okay, I've just been trying to read my Bible and trying to pray, but yet God's been working this whole time. God's been been on the move, and has been placing people all around you, just for you to finally come to realize it,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Man, so, all right. So now going into senior year, just like you said, like now you're starting to get a little bit recruited, got some coaches calling you, was there multiple offers on the table, or was it, man, just because, you had someone go to, come here, like, was that always kind of the goal? Like, man, I'm just waiting to hear from them.
Yeah. So for me, and this is just hindsight looking back on it, what I've learned, like, man, pride was so big. And there were so many things in which we'll get to from why I stopped playing football. But I remember going into my senior year, I was on my floor crying. And it was when I had my torn hamstring, and I was just praying like, God, I just want to go D1. Like, I just want to go D1.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, it was just a need for validation that was revealing itself. You know what I'm saying? Or just like,
Yeah.
I just want people to look at me and be like, oh my gosh, like he played football for 2 years and went D1. And so honestly, from like in my mind, in terms of offers, like there was D2 schools on the table and the things, but I was just like, I have to go D1. Like, because my pride, I just wanted to be validated by so many people.
Yeah.
And I just wanted, really, fear of man was like a big thing on my life for a long time. And so it's just like, man, if I get the approval of other people, then I'm straight.
Yeah.
And so like going D2 or D3 wasn't gonna fill that void.
Yeah, that's
not
gonna do anything for you. Yeah.
Yeah, all I had was D1, like walk on. Was it PWO, like preferred walk on? Yeah. And so it was Mercer, Furman, and like Presbyterian, right?
Yeah.
And funny enough, so my other brother, my middle brother, he went to Mercer, right? And then one of my best friends went to Mercer, and then a family friend who's like a big sister to me went to Mercer. So just from that, I was like, okay. And Mercer was like the best of the schools I had like interest from. So I was like, okay, sure. I think it's pretty clear. I didn't even really pray on the decision much. I was just like, hey, all these things working out. And I'm back in school with my brother again. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that was really all that went to the decision process. But yeah.
Wow, man. So, all right. So was it just a preferred walk-on spot? Like, is that like, was that the offer?
Yeah. Like it's just PWO. It was that simple.
Yeah.
And for the D1 schools. Now, like, I could have gone to Presbyterian on a full ride because of like academic money I had there, which probably would have been the wisest thing to do for my family, like, or for my mom financially. But again, my pride like was in the way of wisdom, where it was just like I didn't really care to value it. Like I just wanted what I wanted, you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Man, okay. So now you're here, like you come to Mercer, preferred walk on. Like, what was, talking with coaches at the time, like what was the big, like, were you super pumped about it? Like just, pumped for the opportunity, ready to show them? Like, what was kind of your mentality, kind of coming here?
For me, I had that just like that movie underdog mentality. Like, I don't care how it's going to happen, but I'm just going to work. Like, I'm just going to work for every opportunity. And then I noticed, like, I struggled with failure. And so this is shifting to the part of, like, where I saw the Lord really prune me through football. It was so much that, like, well, I'll give more on the mentality. So, like, the mentality was, like, I just have to outwork everybody. The same way I had to outwork in high school. Like, I wasn't great at football at all, but I had to work so hard to get where I got to my senior year. The same thing, like, I know, like, I've been in this position before, or I've been overlooked before. So I kind of just applied the same mindset. But then I just noticed, like, after failure, like, just as a freshman, and it would just be the common things, like, just mess ups. Like, it was hard for me to flush them. And it was things like starting to identify with failure and identify with, I guess, not pleasing coaches, and then making, like, I guess getting the coach's approval became my, like, idol, if that makes sense. And it's similar to, I mean, Caleb's one of my best friends. So similar to what he was saying about, like, idolizing in sport, like, that was a huge thing for me. And especially, like, our old coaching staff, before these new guys came, like, it was much more cutthroat with them. Like, they gonna tell you, like, bro, you sorry. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, for me, like, though, whenever I'd hear that type of stuff, like, it would just really, I'd really identify with it. You know what I'm saying? And then in this moment, I remember, like, in terms of my discipline, devotion, like, in my devotion, I was so, like, I got to do a devotion before every practice. before every lift, I gotta read a psalm. Like that
Yeah.
was the way I was coming into college.
I need something here, something uplifting.
Yeah. And then it was just like, still, it was like, man, I just couldn't, it didn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know. That was a big struggle. But I really believe like the Lord used that to prove me in the sense that like I had no more control. Like, I think it was by his grace and that by his love that I didn't see success, which it took me a lot of maturing to see, because if I were to have all the success that I wanted and go to the NFL, all the things, I would have never became like more mature in Christ, because I know I would have never gave him the glory for it. And I would have continued living for myself and seeking immediate pleasure just on more grand scale now, because there's NFL money, or you know what I'm saying? Yep. So I like looking back on it, it was hard at first, especially like, you know, hanging up the cleats and stuff. But I knew like just my entire football journey, like I felt like that's something the Lord always showed me, like it's bigger than just like it's for your character. You know what I'm saying? I think that was the biggest reason I played football, because I mean, I never saw success. I was a practice squad guy for the 2 years I played, and like that was it, you know? Yeah.
Wow, man. So only 4 years of playing football. 2 years in high school, 2 years in college. And, like, I mean, obviously, man, we could kind of hear it from your voice there, and just being, demoralized a lot of just like, man, thinking, this was my goal. Like, this is what I knew was going to happen. I'm going to come here. I'm going to outwork everybody, but then it's just not happening. It's just not getting any better, not seeing any kind of positive, rewards from it or anything like that. So, how was that decision for you then? Like in terms of, and like, man, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah. So first, going back and like talking about the demoralizing thing, I think that's a big attribute the Lord was really trying to teach me, was humility. Like you're like, I guess just submission to him in all things. And like, it got so bad to a point where like, I felt like my faith, like, I guess you kind of say it's kind of this may be work-based, but like, man, if I was living in sin, I would just never see success on the field. Or if I'm living in, like, if I'm doing good things, doing righteous acts, I'll see success on the field. Like, that's where my mind got to, which looking back on it, it's just like, I mean, that's just so like unhealthy, because I don't want to just live holy just for success on the field.
Yeah.
Like that revealed how it was an idol to me, you know? And I think associated with just my journey with football, there was so much like self-condemnation and and negative self-talk, and so much so to where like I noticed like mental health just became a thing once I stopped playing, that like I wanted to take so serious, and especially in like equipping other athletes with the tool too. But in making the decision to stop playing, I remember it was at the beginning of fall camp, and I noticed like the cycle, like I kept going in the cycle of like in spring ball, I'd climb up 1 or 2 spots in the depth chart. Fall camp, fall comes around, back at the bottom. And same thing happened my first 2 years. So it was going into my 3rd year. And I was just sitting, I remember in my room, and I was just praying like, God, is this all there is for me? Like, I don't know. I just need something different. Like, I need to be closer to you on a different scale. Like, that's simply all of it. You could take football, you could take everything. Like, whatever I have to sacrifice to get closer to you, because nothing else is working.
Yeah.
Like, God stripped me of control. And I really just felt in that moment of like just praying, like to lay it at the altar, like that. I really, because I put so much of my identity into football and like who I became, and people knew me just because of football. Like back home, like the first thing people would ask me, and I hated this, I began to hate this over time, was like, how's football going? And not like, how are you? And things of that nature, like that used to really like get under my skin, you know? And so I just felt the Lord like in that moment just tell me like, I mean, to surrender it. And it was, and attached to the surrender was also like a sense of like, it was uncertainty. Like, it was a feeling of like, now, Lord, I don't know what else you're going to do. Or like, how are we going to, you know what I'm saying? But man, when I surrendered it, I went into a phase of depression for about 2 weeks, and I couldn't shake it. Or it was about a week, but like, I couldn't like find the reason to smile again or find joy again. And so I texted one of my mentors who lives in Macon, and I got connected with a therapist. And so therapy, I believe, like really changed my life and just opened my mind to so much so that like I switched my major to psychology because I wanted to go into therapy and sports psychology, like all the things. I just saw so much, like it was so much torment I was experiencing mentally.
Yeah.
And I think I went through a lot of traumatic experiences growing up. And I think I really came to learn for myself, like, if the devil can keep a person bound mentally and bound emotionally, then like he doesn't even need to attack them as much, because he knows, like in Hosea, it says, for lack of knowledge, my people perish. And it's like, if we don't have the knowledge of like the abundant life that Jesus died to give us, like the devil does not need to attack us any more than just having our minds captive. And that's the place I came to. I was just like, man, there's so much mental, what's the word? Just mental space that I really need to like work through. And it really became a thing of healing. And I think that became like my life, like in every situation, like, man, I just want to be healed. Like if I notice my attitude is wrong, I'm talking to the wrong person, like, man, let me heal. Like that's, so I mean, stop being football. It just changed everything for me. In terms of more vision. And I think especially like this was a huge thing for me talking about my football journey. I noticed once I stopped playing football, I didn't look at God as a father, but I looked at him as a coach that I was trying to please.
Yeah, trying to please. Yeah.
And that became my relationship with the Lord, because Monday through Sunday, I was trying to please coaches, you know what I'm saying, and do what was right, get noticed by them. And I had the same thing for God, where there wasn't rest. I couldn't rest because I had to do so much for God to see me. And I think like in that season of me stopping playing football, the Lord taught me rest, and he taught me just all these things, and like, man, to actually heal and to know like I can be validated by him and not through. And so I think stopping playing football, even though like in the eyes of the people around me, they were like, well, you're tripping. Like, and still to this day, like when I'll talk to certain people about it, like they'll just say like, oh, you quit, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever. But like, for me, it's like, I won, like, because it's the verse, like, what is it? Profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul.
Yeah, lose his soul.
And it's like, it doesn't mean much to me for it to make sense to everybody else anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of where the Lord started breaking the fear man in me.
Yeah.
Because like now it's like, man, I have peace. So it's like, it doesn't matter anymore if you don't think it's a good decision. Or, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's so much tied into it. And I think it was so much, like I was saying earlier, like it was pride and insecurity that the Lord had to really break off me. I think he used football to do it. And especially just maturing as a man as well, because I had so much entitlement. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm without pride now, though. Like, trust me, I struggle a lot. But it was so much entitlement I had to just like life. I guess like things just should be my way. You know what I'm saying? And I think like the Lord used football, like it's you don't have control, and like surrender.
Man, that was such a great way of looking at it in terms of, there's no reason for Satan to have to attack you if you're basically in shackles already. Like and that's if you're in that kind of a mental headspace where you're not going out and making disciples of all the nations like we are being told to, then there's no reason for Satan to even come at you. Like, man, I told you, like, growing up in South Georgia, so we very small church that we had, but we had this preacher whenever I was a kid, and man, he said, like, I could still like hear him saying it, man, if you don't feel like Satan is attacking you, maybe you're not doing anything to make him mad.
Yeah.
you know. And it
Yes.
was like, and that's basically what you're saying there is like, if I'm finding no joy in this part of my life that's taken up a huge amount of my time and effort, and I'm finding zero joy from it, then I'm not. It's not producing any fruit in my life, and I'm not going to be able to produce any fruit in anyone else's life because I'm so beaten down by this. I mean, just like you said, like, I mean, over 2 years of it of just trying, and it's just seeing no fruit, seeing no kind of reward whatsoever. And but man, like, once again, like, you're able to find someone that God had already placed in your life. They got you hooked up with some therapy and everything like that. So much so that now you're even changing your life course. You're even changing your like trajectory of where you want to go in terms of a major. So talk a little bit about that, man. Like, what did you see from doing that in terms of psychology and everything like that? Like, what was, what kind of helped get you through some of this as well? So much that you want to try to look into this on your own.
Yeah. I guess I just noticed, like, especially in making that shift, like, I noticed, at least for myself, if I am so captive and like it's just certain thought processes that I have that like just keep me in the same cycles. And it's like, I mean, it's blocking me, like it's limiting God's hand on my life. Like, and
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, man, there's so many more people who feel the same way, like who aren't free
Mm,
mentally. And it's like they may be doing all the right things spiritually, but they're neglecting their mental health. So we're now like, although there may be change in the spirit, there is no change in their reality that they see and the things that they can
yeah.
perceive. And so
Yeah.
for me, like that kind of became the mission. Like, man, I want to be a vessel that God can use to free people. And like that's really the name. Like that's really I guess if there's like a mission, like, and even if it's not therapy, like whatever I do in my life, like I just want to see people free. And that's the place I'm kind of
Yeah.
getting to more and more as like time goes on.
Yeah.
Like, man, even having conversations with guys on the team, it's like just seeing like, I guess just through this season, like I've been able to walk through life with some guys, and not
Yeah.
by any other reason than like I'm just trying to be a vessel. Like I'm no better than any other person, and
Yeah.
I mean humbly, like I hope I always am just remembered like humbly. But um, I mean that's really the main thing for me. Like I know I'm not the only person who struggles with it, and I
Yeah.
think mental health especially is not a thing that's spoke about often, and especially as being men playing a sport like football or I mean whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
weak to talk about that, like man, it's next play mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
can't really process through things. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But I feel like the inability to process things is why there is a continuous cycle. And then that can
Yeah.
lead to a slump in your game or whatever. Like
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's really the biggest thing. And I mean I really feel like there's such a like a unison that the spirit and the soul is supposed to
Mm,
have together. And
yeah.
like people usually end up neglecting one or the other. But I feel like God graced us with the capacity to understand both so we can walk in the fullness of both.
Mm,
Because, and I've explained this to people a couple of times, like, I feel like they're only contingent upon each other. Like, I feel like any spiritual food that you're getting, like, that's the seed, like reading your word, praying, but you also have to take care of your soil as well, which is like
mm,
your mental health and all these things. You know what I'm saying? Because you could get
right.
as much seed as you want. Like you could read the word as much as you want, all the things. But if you don't take care of your mind and address like all the cycles that you have or the thought processes that keep you in the same place, like that seed will never grow to its fullest ability,
Mm,
if that makes sense. So
yeah.
like if you believe like poverty is going to be your life, regardless of how many times you read that, like I have an abundant life or whatever, all these things, like I'm rich in Christ,
Yeah.
like if you only believe poverty is going to be your mindset or your life, like you won't be able to see the fullness of that word, you know?
Mm,
So I guess just equipping people with that is like a real mission for me. Or I guess that's what I feel like called to do
yeah.
at this point, at least. And I mean, like, just the more I think about, like, the more I can just see like the reality of the soul and the
Hmm.
spirit in so many lessons that I read,
Yeah.
or stories that I read in the Bible. But yeah.
Man, it's so good, and like especially because you can apply that to, even with as a believer and knowing that, man, I'm struggling with this sin. I keep having this kind of temptation. Like how do I fight? How do I fight back from this? We had a great talk last week at the huddle about this. Like we read through chapter 3 of with Adam and Eve, and how sin started, and then we were kind of breaking this down, and had someone even speak up to say, man, like, well, there's a I'm still struggling with this. Like, I know I'm not supposed to do it, but I still struggle with it. Like, why? And I was like, dude, Paul wrote that exact thing. So then we got into Romans and started reading through that, and hearing you talk about the soul and the spirit being in one, and like they're supposed to go up together. Like, if one is going up, that doesn't necessarily mean the other one is naturally going to go up. You have to kind of find that balance to be able to get them both up at the same time. And man, there was a couple years ago, I was reading through, it was on I'm pretty sure it was on like the Bible app, but it was a plan on just fighting sin, fighting temptation, stuff like that. And it was on, someone was kind of trying to write this from the perspective of, it's almost like your brain has a natural trench that it's always follows. Like, it always follows this trench. And even though you may be reading your word and like you're praying to God and trying to find a way to fight this temptation or this, if that trench doesn't change in your mind, like, you're naturally going to go right back to where you were. Like, you're still going to keep struggling. You have to be able to redig like another trench. Like, you have to find another way. Like, once that struggle starts happening, once that temptation starts happening, you have to find a way off that path, like, immediately. Otherwise, you're just going to wind up in the same spot. Like, that's just like the way it's going to happen. So I've always since then have kind of tried to find that like example of a trench, and like trying to redig a trench, and like get yourself onto the right path to where God wants you to be. Just like you just said, to have that kind of like abundant life, to have that rich life. The plans that I have for you are, to be, one of a great, like a great future and success and everything with that. And so, man, it's a very, very interesting topic to be able to kind of relate psychology with the Word of God. Like, there is, you can definitely do it. Like, there's a lot of therapists and stuff that really don't do that, but you can definitely find a way to be able to use the Bible and use the Word of God to be able to get people back on the right track, and not only their own self, but to get them closer to Christ. In doing that. And so very interesting there to be able to hear you say that. And so but look, with that, all right, so now you make that tough choice to be able to step away from football, but man, you're back in the locker room now. So like, how did that kind of happen? And like, where did that kind of shift to be able to go back into it?
Yeah. So I noticed, especially in that season of like reflecting the year I had away from football, the person who changed my life most in my entire life was my receiver coach I had in high school. And it was not like he just gave me like an abundance of this love, but instead it was like tough love. And like, he always just affirmed me, like he saw more than me than just a football player, but like a man I can be. And like so many, every single day. And I mean, there were days like we got in arguments, but like he always loved me like I was his own son. And I was just thinking like, man, like to have that type of impact on someone like the way he had on me, like I would absolutely love that. Like to be a coach, like to really just walk through life with younger men who aren't my own sons, but like just to have an impact. Like, and this is the thing I live by, especially now, like in whatever life decisions I'm making, I want impact over income.
Yeah.
And so like, I just felt like, I mean, if like one day I will be a high school coach, so like I want to be a high school receiver coach just for that same reason, like just to leave an impact. And funny enough, like when I kind of came to that place a week later, Coach Fig, receiver coach, like he just texted me about like just saying like, are you still down to come back and help, whatever, come help around. And so I prayed on it, because I've heard so many things where like people would say like, if God brought you from something, don't go back to it or whatever. And then I really was just thinking like, man, how dark and how like lost may people be, like not only on the team, but I mean, I guess in this example in the team, but like just in general, like, man, I could just be another light, because there's already lights on the team, and I could give names, but I don't want to forget anybody. But man, there's so many lights on the team already. So like just to join in that and like make our lights brighter together, that was a huge reason, like coming back. And I mean, I also want to go into sports psychology. So again, being right there, like just being able to talk to certain guys about like, man, how's your mental health? Like, you know what I'm saying? Not being punished, because I'm really just coming as a brother. So like I'm not like giving no advice or nothing. I'm just gaining experience. Like, I think it's in every aspect, it kind of was beneficial for me. In terms of like wanting to be a receiver coach one day. So I'm learning from a great receiver coach, or the sports psychology. I'm able to learn or practice the things that I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? And then most importantly, like, man, if there's souls to be saved, like that's the biggest thing. So it's like living as an example. And then when the time comes for me to evangelize, like making it count. You know what I'm saying? Let the Spirit lead me. So, I mean, those are really the biggest three reasons.
Man, dude, that's so awesome. And man, you can already see it there. For me, being on the sideline this season, able to see you in action and be able to see you talking to some of the other guys as well. And like you said, just trying to be a light, trying to be some other. People don't realize sometimes how tough that sideline is to be on sometimes, especially when things aren't going your way. Like it gets
Sure.
like you can drop the motivation level pretty quickly there. So it's nice to have that balancing act. Like it's kind of nice to have someone to kind of knock you down a little bit, but someone else kind of pick you back up, because the game's still it's still out there. So like we still need you, and so to be able to see you in action doing that as well is awesome, man. And like you said, to be able to try to apply what you're learning in class and try to figure it out, because I'm sure like with that, like that certain if somebody's struggling with this, don't do this, do this instead. And so you can actually see that firsthand, like out there, and actually see it in action, do your own like experiment there on the sideline, see if it's actually working, which is awesome, man. It's awesome for you to be able to get that experience now, just like you said. And so man, so now kind of moving forward, you got another semester left, and then you'll be done. Like what's and I'm sure, just like you, like things can change in the next couple of months, but where do you see yourself like this time next year? Maybe going back to grad school, or going back, getting joining the workforce and starting a some kind of like a career. Like, what's the next step for you?
Yeah. So the plan right now after I graduate is to go back and get my master's. Whether it's going to be, I'm still deciding, or really, I mean, praying on it too. Like, because for the longest I thought it was going to be marriage and family therapy. But I'm also seeing like you can get a master's in just mental health counseling, so I mean, there's all types of things. So, but I definitely do want to get my master's, and then I would love one day to get one of my roommates. I don't know if you can hear the water, but hopefully
no, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
But
no,
I want to get my doctorate as well in clinical psychology. My mom, actually, her being a guidance counselor, like it's funny that I kind of followed her footsteps and she has a doctorate in the same thing, and doing counseling,
Wow,
and it's funny just how life worked out. That ended up being the same for me. But that's the plan after I get my master's. But part of me, I still don't know if I want to go into like being a GA and still coaching while I'm getting my master's. So there's like certain things I'm still working, but I know like getting my master's is a non-negotiable. But whether I'm working while I'm doing it or being a GA, still coaching, that's still in the works. But
Man, that's awesome. Well, Kel, this has been an awesome story, man. I knew you were going to have something good, and you definitely brought it. So, super, super powerful testimony here to be able to hear, the ups and downs, and still be able to see, how Christ is still moving in your life still now. And, it's just kind of that constant work, that constant heart transformation, just like the Bible tells us, having the attitude of Christ. Things. And so, man, this has just been awesome to hear your story, man.
Yes, sir. I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. I appreciate you having me. For real.
Yeah. All right, guys. Next Wednesday, Mercer FCA podcast, and thank you guys so much for joining us. And don't forget to think about and be praying about possibly giving to the mission field and everything that we are doing on the campus. Check those links, like and share everything as well. And we will see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.